Hello, my friends. Welcome to Walking with J.Beau. I would be J.Beau. This is an almost daily walking vlog. It's not about politics. It's not about firearms. It's not about the price of tea in China. But I will discuss everything in between, as well as those two. Basically, the goal is getting my exercise workout, and whatever happens in between, that's what happens. So, hope everybody's happy, things are going good, or well, if you want to use correct English. Very happy to say things are going okay. Looks like that guy that shot up that building in New York. Thanks. It's all right. Guy that shot up that building in New York was targeting somebody inside that building, I think. Guess he had a note on him, and he believed that he had suffered traumatic brain injury while playing professional football, which of course it seems he's never played professional football. This Shane Tamura, 27 years old, out of Las Vegas, Nevada, traveled all the way to New York's NFL office, and he didn't even get the right floor. He didn't get to the NFL's office. And the whole thing is rather strange. But anyway, I guess he wanted to have his brain examined, see what was wrong with it. He'd been having psychological issues. That can happen with brain trauma, but we don't even know if this guy suffered any or not. So maybe some kind of examination will be done. And the two people I talked about in yesterday's walk that got arrested outside where he went in were pro-Palestine protesters. And the guy did shout, pro-Palestine, free Palestine, but not the gunman. It wasn't the gunman that did that. It was this weird looking guy on the corner with a Palestine shirt on, with a girl that was with him. Both of them were detained immediately and subsequently released. It had nothing to do with the shooting. It's not against the law to protest on the corner, but until the police knew what the hell was going on, they were detained. So my report yesterday was accurate, and also stated I did not know if they were associated with what happened or not. That black woman that was an eyewitness said that these two were with the shooter, but she was an eyewitness that didn't know what the hell was going on, and that very well may have been how it looked to her. from her point of view. So subsequently, that's not what happened. It's a lone shooter, certifiable nut job, and I guess that's that. The rifle he had was an M4, which is a shorter version of an M16. It's more compact, kind of a short barrel. It didn't look like a short barrel in the photo I saw. I think he had a suppressor on it, but they said he didn't. Nothing special. I saw a close-up photograph of it. It's a Palmetto State Armory lower anyway, which it looks like this guy had somebody else buy it for him because he had his license to carry revoked, had psychological issues, and he couldn't go buy a firearm himself. The party needed, and apparently someone got him a lower, and whoever got him that lower is in big trouble. They stepped in big doo-doo. Maine's laws here is if you knowingly buy a firearm or parts you need an FFL for somebody. Oh, there's a deer. We got one deer here, one deer there, and one deer straight ahead. So we got 3 deer out here. We're all gonna go run for cover because that one did. So we got 3 deer hopping around out in the field. Now they're gone. So I love seeing deer out here. I wanted to be careful I didn't spook them, because if you spook them the wrong way, they'll run out across the road and get hit by a car. And I don't want to do that either. No, now they're off in the woods. I interrupted their grazing in the grass. It is, by the way, about 82 degrees or so. Very muggy. Dew point's about 68. It's 80 degrees. Dew point is 68. Just checked. So that guy was a bona fide wackadoon, as they say, and shot some people, unfortunately. police officer was killed, civilians were killed. And the Democrats are going to say, it's the guns. Nope. This guy was a mental case. It's a psychiatric issue, mental illness. If he doesn't have a gun, he'll use something else. He'll go rent a U-Haul and drive through the park and run over children. These people are not sane. So, that concludes my topic for tonight. I have discussed mental illness and firearms ad nauseum on many walks in the past. Kind of sick of talking about it. It's running over the same ground. It's not the guns, it's mental illness. You're taking guns out of the hands of responsible, law-abiding citizens. And what really bothers me is this guy just brazenly walked across this esplanade court, I guess you'd call it, and anybody that was armed could have confronted him. But there aren't very many in New York. So when guys do this, there's no place to run and hide, and you got no defense. So the other thing I noticed is, like I stated here, where actually we're not far from it, mass shooting we had here. His gun malfunctioned while he was in the middle of doing the shooting, which is why he left and went to the other location and killed people there. Nobody inside just-in-time recreation had a firearm to confront him with. A retired police officer was inside flipping up tables trying to protect children on children's bowling night. He left his gun in his car, like the law says you're supposed to, for any place that serves alcohol. So that leaves you a choice of not going anywhere that serves alcohol, or any business that has a sign on it. And I agree with V-Man, who left a comment on my page saying that you're not going to get their business if they don't let you in there if you can't carry. And I won't go into a business that doesn't allow firearms. So I wouldn't have been in that business to get shot at to begin with. But I highly doubt if somebody would have disregarded the law and put this guy down, which they would have had a chance to when his gun jammed. And it was an irreparable jam. It was a malfunction that he could not clear. He was very experienced with firearms and would have done so. So I think a casing got stuck inside a chamber, couldn't eject, or his extractor broke. Grace of God, whatever you want to call it. He could not finish what he was doing there. So he got in his car. He had a backup rifle, an AR-15. He used an AR-10 at just in time, which was a .308 caliber. We have an AR-10. It's a fun rifle to shoot. It's a nasty business. Very effective. Military used .308 for a long time. It's a capable round. And so that's how that went down, and he ended up going to another place using his AR-15, which obviously did not malfunction, because he ended up killing 18 people altogether. So very unfortunate. If this guy goes by here, I'll flip the camera around. I'll go on the road so his dog doesn't maul me up. He's got a little pooch. Hi, how are you? Good. So now I'm going to flip the camera around. Maybe. There we go. It's giving me fits. Hi everybody. How are you doing? So like I was saying, his AR-15 did not malfunction. But I guess the point I'm making is even just two people or even just one person would have been armed in there to return fire after his gun malfunctioned. That would have been stopped, and all the people that got killed at Schmenge's, the second location, would still be alive. So I want people to think about that. This guy could have been ended while he was doing that. So, right. And unfortunately, because of the laws here and the way it is, that did not happen. So that's the truth in reality of why gun laws should not be passed like that. They might feel good at the time, they might make sense. Well, gee, statistics show people that have been drinking, they get unruly. We should pass a law banning firearms in places that sell alcohol. Sounds good on paper. I've seen drunk people get unruly, and yeah, I would not want them to have access to a firearm. But here's the sad truth about why that law doesn't work. And this is why they don't think about these things when they pass them. They just want to pass them and say we're doing something. Guy goes into a bar. I know it sounds like a joke, it's not. Guy goes into a bar, has too many to drink, which, you know, might not even be too many. Some people, 4 beers, 5 beers, they start getting belligerent, which is why you didn't want them to have a firearm when they went in, and they left it out in their car. Okay, see what I'm saying here? You're not supposed to drink and drive either, but people do it. Very stiff penalty in Maine for drinking and driving. People do it anyway, because it's alcohol. So if people drink and drive in Maine and hurt people, and people get drunk and they start using their firearm in a bad way and hurt people, the logical answer would be, well, let's ban alcohol. Well, if you ban alcohol, they're going to do something else to get their kicks. You'll have to ban everything. And last time I checked, cocaine and stuff like that was banned already. People do it anyway. So if you made alcohol illegal, like they did at one time, people will still get alcohol. It's not hard to make. You can make it yourself in your bathtub. Everybody's heard about bathtub gin, right? So there's nothing you can do about that. So basically you're pissing in the wind about any of this stuff, okay? So we'll go back to our guy. The guy goes into a bar, has a few drinks. There's another guy in the bar, has had a few drinks, and they start getting into it with each other, back and forth, right? One guy says one thing, guy says something else. And then you start getting into the oh yeahs. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Guy goes out in the parking lot. The other guy follows him. They get into it in the parking lot. Well, the guy goes in his glove box and he gets his firearm he left in his car. Shoots the guy. No alcohol law prevented anything. No gun law prevented anything. Or worse, the guy goes out in his car, gets his gun, and goes back into the bar and starts shooting. Gun law didn't prevent anything. So a lot of these legislative decisions are based on knee-jerk from something that happened. They're not well thought out, really, realistically, because of just a simple thing like I just said. It doesn't prevent what you're trying to pass it to prevent. Doesn't even limit it. You got a state here where constitutional carry. There's no restrictions on firearms in people's cars. Democrats here tried to pass laws stating you couldn't leave a firearm in your vehicle overnight unattended. That didn't pass. They can't get anything passed with firearms here in Maine. And the Democrats control everything because it's the state of Maine. Very similar to Wisconsin in that we have all of this rural stuff, and many Democrats here own firearms. So we have no restrictions on anything. The only thing they managed to get passed was you could no longer sell a firearm in a classified ad and not require an FFL like it used to be. It used to be where you go get an Uncle Henry's, which is the real reason why they passed that law. The governor had a personal burr up her coochie, or kuru, or coochie. She had a burr, a bug up her coochie, about quote-unquote internet sales of firearms, meaning people meeting in a group on Facebook or private messages saying, yeah, I got this old 1967 Marlin 336, sell it to you for $800. I'll meet you in the parking lot outside Denny's or something like that. And then you do a boot sale, a trunk sale, and you just sell the firearm. That was perfectly legal in Maine here for a very long time, until last year. Now you can only do that with family members. And you have to sell a firearm to somebody, basically acknowledging that if they use it for something bad, you're going to be held responsible if you knowingly sold it to them when they weren't allowed to have one. That's the catch. So my brother, for example, gifted me a 1970s bolt action shotgun, and there was no FFL needed, no firearms license transfer, and perfectly legal, family members. And if I turned around and used that for something bad, or a crime, or a really bad crime, he would not be in trouble for it because I was legally allowed to have a firearm when he gave it to me. So that's how that goes in Maine. So they prevented the private sale to non-family members. Originally, they wanted to make it all private sales, family members or not, and they couldn't get it passed. So the only way it could get passed was to add the provision in it that family members can transfer firearms. And, you know, there's a lot of people. You get this uncle, was a Vietnam vet. He's got a real M14 and says, you know, when I'm gone, this is going to be yours. And, you know, they don't want to have any issues with that. So, anyway, that is the deal with that in Maine and mass shootings. Any legislation you pass basically is going to punish responsible gun owners, and they never craft this legislation to actually be productive, to actually save lives. They do everything That's the opposite. It's almost like Democrats want mass shootings. What do I mean? Well, gun-free zones. Why do you have gun-free zones? You know? What does that accomplish? It gives a nice, fat, juicy target for somebody that wants to do a mass shooting, because people there are not going to be armed, like the one I just told you about that happened here. Why would any sane person look at that and think that was a smart thing to do? I mean, really. Doesn't make sense to me. It's like putting fish in a barrel. Telling a mass shooter, well, there you go. You got a whole bunch of fish in the barrel. Nobody's going to shoot back. How stupid is that? Yeah, we see it everywhere. The right way would be ban guns in your state entirely. Make them illegal for everyone. All handguns, all firearms, all rifles, all hunting rifles, all bows, all bow and arrows, all crossbows. Anything that you could do a mass shooting with. So you go through all that, get that all done. What's somebody do? Yeah, well, they go to town with a friggin' machete and attack people. Some mass shootings, you get 5 people killed, 6 people. With a machete, you could probably do more than that, because you're going to get in closer proximity with a very crowded place. It's happened. It's happened. We just saw it in a Walmart. 11 people stabbed in Michigan. Now here's the thing, the media stopped talking about it, and I'm sure you don't know. I'm absolutely sure you do not know this. All they talked about was somebody went on a stabbing spree at a Michigan Walmart. Well, video surfaced on how that was diffused. Do you know how that was diffused? I'll tell you how that was diffused. A good guy with a gun stopped it. My brother and I were texting. I was like, geez, it's too bad nobody could have a gun to defend, you know, take care of this guy. If I was in a Walmart and somebody was stabbing people, I would protect other people by putting this guy down. I would hope to God to avoid it. I wouldn't want to be in that situation. But if that's how it happened and he's just going around stabbing people, well, what are you going to do? You're going to take care of it if you have the means. Well, a good guy with a gun ended that. So, he didn't shoot the guy. He didn't shoot the guy. He had the gun on him, and I watched the video in the parking lot. One guy is yelling at him, throw it away, throw it away. The guy with the knife, throw it away, you know. And this other guy with the firearm is doing a really terrible handgun technique. He's almost doing that gangbanger tilted to the side thing. But the point is, he had a gun and he defused it. And that guy was able to be arrested. The guy didn't want to get shot when it came right down to it, because he's a coward. Don't know what triggered him. But I will tell you that the guy was doing the gangbanger off to the side thing, holding it up here. Put the gun down, put the knife down, put the knife down. Really terrible, awful example of everything you shouldn't do in a self-defense situation, but it ended up working out. They arrested the guy that did that. I guess one person needed surgery. Other people were being treated for their injuries. He had a kind of a short bladed knife. So thankfully he didn't have anything more severe. But anyway, you know, like the Walmart we have here, because we have constitutional carry. Get this bug that just landed in my hair. We get constitutional carry here. Very dangerous. These kids zipping around on electric bikes with no lights. He's got lights. This one's got lights. He's pedaling his. So, anyway, basically you have a Walmart here that has a sign in the door that asks you, it says, kindly refrain, that's exactly what it says, kindly refrain from openly displaying your firearm while shopping. Which means it's legal for you to carry them, but please don't openly carry where everybody shopping can see your firearm. Technically that's legal here in Maine, but the business is asking you nicely not to, and they're not putting up a sign saying no firearms allowed because they know some people aren't going to go shopping there, given the risk of mass shootings, things like that. I would not go shopping at Walmart if I could not bring my firearm with me. So I just wouldn't. So Walmart does not prohibit you from carrying a firearm. They just ask that you don't display it where everybody can see it, which is okay. I conceal carry anyway. The only time I open carry is at the range, because, you know, you're at the range. So I'm going to flip the camera around here. So these are some pretty crazy times we're in right now. Watched President Trump in Scotland today on a golf course. It was fun and interesting to watch. And, you know, he did a gaggle on the plane, an audio-only gaggle for the press. And they asked him about Epstein, and he repeated himself that Epstein had been kicked out of Mar-a-Lago. He said, I didn't like how he was stealing my help, he said. So the media seems to be confused by what that means. But what it means is, she was a 16-year-old girl, which was Jeffrey, which is the girl that killed herself in Australia. She was a 16-year-old 3 years ago. She was a 16-year-old that was groomed at Mar-a-Lago. And Trump told Epstein not to steal his help. And the Democrats seem to have a problem with that. They're saying that means Trump knew what Epstein was doing and why he was doing it, and he didn't do anything about it. So, because Trump made it sound like he told him not to steal his help, and then he did it again, and Trump kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. So they're trying to make it sound like Trump knew what he was doing with these minors and didn't do anything to stop it, just told him to stay out of his place. Don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't really matter in my opinion. A lot of people knew what Epstein was doing. You know, what do you do about it? There's no proof, there's no evidence. Who do you go to? So, they just want to get Trump. So, Trump was emphatic. I've never been to the island, which is true. Democrats can try to make that case all they want to. They're going to fail on it. And Trump's right. You know, they've had these files. He said it again today. They've had these files while Biden was in office. Crooked AG Garland. And all these people knew about that. And he said nobody used anything in it before the election. He goes, why would they have something like that and not use it before the election? And that's a very genuine point that I have made many times on this walk. And that's what I was stating on the walk, is why would they have something like that and not use it? They wouldn't. They would have used it, and we would have Kamala in the White House right now. People would not have voted for Trump. That would have definitely won the election for them. As idiotic as Kamala was, she probably would have won with the lowest amount of votes ever for a presidential candidate. And they would have won that election. So they did not have anything. That much is obvious. Right now, they just see it as a political option because only 36% of MAGA approve of how Trump has handled this. So they're seeing a chink in the armor they're trying to exploit. And the rest of the Republican Party has Trump at 79 to 90% on everything else, from immigration to trade to economy and all of that stuff. So this Epstein thing is not the priority for Republican voters, I should add. So this is going to go nowhere for them. And the media is going to talk about it every day, try to make it a thing. And Trump's going to have to do something about this. No, he doesn't. All of it's going to come out. Ghislaine Maxwell wants immunity while testifying to Congress. She wants to be pardoned. She wants the whole friggin' world. And, you know, she's a rapist like Epstein was, literally. She participated in raping these girls. So, you know, she'd bring them into a room and watch Epstein have sex with a minor. And Ghislaine Maxwell would sit there with the girl and they would watch. And Ghislaine Maxwell would start coming on to the girl. And they were grooming them. And these girls felt trapped. And at the same time, they're being tempted with being flown on jet planes all over the world, seeing things they've never seen before. And she's 16. She's a minor. And there's even a fine line there of, is 16 too young? And literally that comes down to what state you're in. State of Maine here, at the time that this was going on, somebody over 18 could be sexually involved with a 14-year-old if they had the parent's permission. Meaning, if the parent gave the okay for their son or daughter to date somebody over 18 romantically, then they could. That was recently changed in Maine to 16. So in 16, it's legal if you have permission from the parents. So, or parent, or guardian, or something. Legal guardian. So, I'm not condoning it. I'm not advocating for it. What I'm saying is, there's a fine line that Epstein crossed. And he always had the barely legal kind of look he was looking for. 16 going on 20. So, Attorney General Bondi, A.G. Bondi, says that there are hundreds, she said, hundreds of videos of Epstein having sex with minors, as well as internet porn that he downloaded. And I understand fully, you can't go releasing video that has minors in it that were victims. Even if you blur it out, blotch it out, Nobody wants to see that. It can be verified in other ways. So there's a fine line there. And as far as testimony and court documents, from everything I'm looking at right now, the judges are not going to release the grand jury testimony. Doesn't matter if it mentions Trump or not. We don't know in what way it mentions Trump. Trump is mentioned in these files, but not in a bad way, and we don't know what way they were mentioned. But Trump knows if that gets out, that's going to become a political weapon against him. That's all going to be anybody talks about. And what he's trying to do as president is not going to be talked about. And that's exactly what's happening. And that's why he's been kind of a pain about this. And I don't blame him. After everything they've done to him, this would be something that's, you know, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi had a conversation with the president about how his name was mentioned, what was talked about. It's obviously nothing major. Pam Bondi's not going to be able to get away with knowing something like that if he did something bad and not doing anything about it. She's the Attorney General. And the MAGA base, no one is above the law, remember? We're going to prosecute people no matter who and what they did. So there's no way they would be able to hide something like that about Trump. Something always comes out. The truth always comes out eventually. And Trump's not very concerned about it. That's what it looks like. I just think he might have heard what Epstein was doing. I just told him to stay away from his help and go someplace else, basically, is what he did. And some people are going to say that was not a good thing for him to do. And realistically, though, what's he going to do about it? Call law enforcement? There's no way to prove anything. Bad press for his club, Mar-a-Lago, his business. And at the time, Trump is doing television. That's the other thing people forget, too. You know, at the time, he's doing television and all this other stuff. And that's just something you don't want to get involved in. And I think that's the extent of it. And but I do agree with Democrats and some Republicans and a lot of Republican voters, almost 70% of voters. Release the files. Whatever it is you have, release it. Protect the victims. And don't release video of Epstein having sex with 16-year-old girls and whatever else was going on. And we know Prince Andrew settled out of court. He lost his association with the crown. He lost his title. He lost his military service record, medals that he was given. So it's obvious he did something with Jeffrey, which is the 16-year-old girl that killed herself 3 years ago. He's the one that did something with her, and it was through Epstein. And she was groomed from Mar-a-Lago by Ghislaine Maxwell. So when Trump said to Epstein, "Don't steal my help," everybody knew now that it's Ghislaine Maxwell that was stealing the help. So Trump knew Ghislaine Maxwell was stealing the help for that purpose, and he barred Maxwell and Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. Now, the other thing to chew on is they're striking a deal with Maxwell to testify in front of Congress, and she's not implicating Trump. In fact, she's trying to get a pardon from Trump. So if she had anything salacious against Trump, she would not be testifying. But if she's subpoenaed, she's going to have to. And what she's looking for is she's looking for immunity. She's looking for immunity, so anything she says cannot be used against her to prosecute her and add more time and a new charge. See what I mean? So she's trying to cover her hind end so she doesn't get more time, and she's also trying to get a pardon for giving them names under oath to Congress, because they don't want to end up with a Ghislaine Maxwell saying, under advice of attorney, I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment, whatever other amendments she could call on for incriminating myself. And then, you know, that's a constitutional right people have. So she wants immunity so she can talk without having to do that. And, you know, that would make sense. I think a lot of people would like that. So that's going to be up to the Department of Justice what they're going to agree on. And if the Department of Justice agrees to that, but no pardon, and she'll get immunity and she'll get consideration for time served, maybe a shorter sentence than she would have had, maybe some kind of deal like that. But she's the one that knows everything, okay? She's the one that knows everything. She did everything for Epstein. Everything. So it's obviously her testimony is very important. And the reason why I want her to testify with immunity is because then she can sit there and emphatically say Trump is not guilty of anything. Because he's not. But at this point, there's nothing that's going to make everyone happy. If she were to testify, give up names, say Trump didn't do anything, and everybody she gives up is a Democrat, Democrats are going to cry foul. They're going to say she's lying, because she already got in trouble for giving false statements. So, you know, she perjured herself. So, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see like everybody else. We don't want any low-hanging fruit either. We want big names. We want big, powerful people. Hopefully, a couple of them are really big Democrat donors. I know at least 2 of them are former heads of universities. That I do know. So, very interesting stuff, huh? Very, very interesting. But I do believe we need to move on politically. And right now, I don't think that's very possible. So I think the Trump administration is going to be forced to do something to show transparency. Not everybody's going to buy it, but I'm interested in the MAGA base getting enough information to move on and let the Democrats scream and cry about it, but get the MAGA camp back in step with fixing the country instead of wasting all of our time with this crap. And, you know, I'm not saying that getting justice for the victims is a waste of time. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the Democrats are only interested right now because of Elon fucking Musk's post that Trump is in the files. Bookmark this post. You'll see it come out. When he posted that, that was it. Because Elon Musk was in the White House, and 2 + 2 equals blah, blah, blah. So, which also lends to the fact that there's nothing serious with Trump because being mentioned in those files. Because if Elon Musk knew about it, you know, they were obviously talking about it in his presence, and it's not some big, huge secret, you know. So I'm not going to worry about it, and you shouldn't either. Trump is very annoyed by it, and he knows they're going to try to implicate him. And he's thinking about midterms next year and the fuss that they're going to make if the Democrats win the House back. So he's already been through that. So that's what he's thinking about. That's going to stall his whole presidency. And all the media cycle is going to be about that every single day. Like Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Remember that? Bill Clinton actually had a pretty successful presidency in his second term. You wouldn't know about it today because all you remember is sperm on a blue dress in the Oval Office. And that's what Trump's trying to avoid. And I don't blame him. And I'm going to support this guy 100%. And that's it. So apparently the files have been gone through, and whatever has mentioned him, they made note of it, because they know, you know, first of all, if you're going to go through all this stuff and you're going to go through the trouble to have people go through this stuff and flag whatever mentions Trump, then you know they're going to be releasing the files, all right? That should be a given. If the point that they're flagging it, obviously is a reason for that. That means it's going to be made public. So, and I know the Trump administration is going to have to make it public as much as possible. And I think they're just trying to gear up for what the Democrats are going to try to say about Trump being mentioned in whatever way he's mentioned. Because that's all the Democrats care about. They don't care about the victims. They really don't. So it's going to be interesting to wait, find out, and see. Whew, I am sweating my can. Very humid tonight. It's going to be humid through part of the day tomorrow. We're going to have some thunderstorms tomorrow. And then the humidity is going to blow out of town tomorrow night. And it's actually going to be quite pleasant for the next few days. It'll be about 80 degrees every day. Low to mid 50s overnight. Noticeably cooler. So that should be nice. I think so anyways. Get some water in my backpack. If I get thirsty enough. I have sweat dripping down the back of my neck. Ooh. I noticed some trash out on the way here. Not seeing anything recyclable though. I don't see any chute cycling jugs. I'm wearing my Reeboks tonight, which is actually good because they get reflectors in them for cars. Well, that trash there has no jugs for shooting. To be honest with you, we have enough jugs to shoot. We've accumulated quite a bit. Saw a weird ad today. It was a commercial, a video commercial with the mayor of Boston, that Asian chick. Wu, I think her name is, or something. I don't remember. She's an idiot, regardless. Anyway, the video I saw was an ad about their new rat-proof trash cans in the city they're going to be putting out. And I'm wondering how long they're going to have these rat-proof trash cans out, because the cans are made, I don't know how they're made. They have a drawer on the front that you open and it closes behind it under its own weight, kind of like the old mailboxes. So she calls them rat-free, rat-proof garbage cans, right? That's what she calls them, rat-proof garbage cans. I looked at it and I was like, well, how are homeless people in Boston going to get food now out of the trash can? If these are made to be where you can't open them, I don't know how they open, but I'll guarantee you homeless people are going to figure it out, and they're going to open these cans and dump the trash out, and guess what? The rats are going to eat anyway. And this is the kind of thing that, you know, I talk about with Democrat run anything. This is what they do. The problem is the fucking rats, okay? Not the trash cans. You should be doing things to get rid of rats. Well, they don't have a budget to do that. So they're going to put up trash cans that are difficult or impossible for rats to get into. But it's not going to be impossible for homeless people to get into them. So is the homeless person going to dig through the trash and be respectful and not make a mess all over the place? Of course not. They're going to do what they've been doing. They're going to dump the trash out and go through it. So the problem is the rats. They do the same thing with guns. They do the same thing with drugs. They do everything but what they should do to stop the problem. And as far as guns go, they can't get rid of the guns because that's a constitutional right for everybody to own them. So, but Boston wants to keep the rats out of the trash. So there's a commercial with her showing how it works. And like I said, nobody in the video talks about homeless people Would not even surprise me if they decide to scrap that idea because they're preventing homeless people from eating. Some left-wing group is going to protest the city doing that or something. You watch. Watch. That's how crazy they are. Which reminds me, today there is I don't know who she is. I guess she's an actress or a musician or somebody, a model. I have no idea who she is, doesn't matter. I only know her last name, Sweeney. Pretty blonde. Well, she just partnered with a company that sells jeans, and the amazing shocker is these corporations are giving up on woke because whenever they go woke, they go broke. So they caved in, and now they got this beautiful blonde wearing jeans, and she has a jean jacket on with nothing on underneath, and you can see her big boobs. So that has caused a lot of backlash from the leftists. The leftists who would rather have a trans model with a beard or something, you know what I mean? Like Calvin Klein did, and Calvin Klein's almost bankrupt. That backfired. They had a whole bunch of advertisements with a pregnant trans man, which is a female with a beard, looking like a male, and she's pregnant, wearing Calvin Klein underwear. So Calvin Klein went the woke route. Now this company with jeans is going the normal route. What was the thing Democrats cited as one of the reasons why they lost voters? They lost the men. The men. Wait till this motorcycle goes by. Motorcycles. So they lost the young men. The young men who like blondes with big boobs. They were punished for saying that, remember? So Democrats are always on the wrong side of everything. So they're going to criticize this sexist ad because it's a pretty blonde girl wearing their jeans. How are they going to get their male vote back? I guess they don't want it back, right? So everything the Democrats do, they're on the wrong side of the topic and the issues. Every time. Every damn time. And they've been doing this for so long that all of the people in their party are pre-programmed for this. These people were groomed in the schools, and they ran for office, and now they're elected to office. And they're Marxist. It's a real problem. These hyper-progressive far-left extremists in these big cities are winning elections or polling well. AOC right now is polling better than she ever has among Democrat voters because she's giving the finger to Trump and the establishment in the Democratic Party. I can tell you right now, the billionaire donors who make the Democratic Party run don't like what these young progressives are doing. So they're having their issues right now, and I'm damn happy about it. Let them go ahead and go crazy. Go crazy. I hope this ma'am Donnie wins the election in New York. I really do. I still think the Democrats are going to cheat to make sure he loses with ranked choice voting. Remember, I said it here first. And I'm not right about everything. Not even close. But I like to talk about this stuff like everybody does. It's important, you know, it's important to talk about this stuff. So I'm going to flip the camera around again. Just had a beetle on my forehead. It's stuck in my forehead to the sweat. Isn't that great? Isn't that friggin' awesome? Light's green and there's no cars here. What's up with that? Got any jugs over here? Usually got a couple over here. At least two. Yes. There we go. We have, this is a good one. This is cat litter. It's one of those big cat litter ones. These are about 2 gallons to 2.5 gallons of water when you fill them up. When we get some cat litter, we have a pee-pee jug. Now this guy had a couple of milk jugs in there, but we got a whole bunch of those, and the guy in that is that one that takes the caps off. Whew, I'm sweating pretty good. I think when I get back, I'm gonna whip up some pasta. Pasta la vista, baby. Oh, maybe. We'll see. Actually, you know what? I might do some fried potatoes and onions with a piece of beef. I think that would be good. A little bit of corn. Yeah. That's the ticket. Potatoes are good carbohydrates. Good vitamins, too. A lot of potassium as well. Good for blood pressure. And virtually no sodium. Unless you put some on it, which I usually do. I like to have salt on stuff. No trash out on that street to the left here. So I'm not going to go down it looking for shootables. Whew. So the last thing I'm going to talk about on the walk is something serious. there's been a marked change on what's going on in Ukraine right now, and this is very serious. For the first time, really, it looks like the Russians are about to put Ukraine away. I mean, for good. That's what it looks like it's happening. Russia started a major offensive today, and that came after Putin's phone call with Trump a day or two ago. And Trump also said today that he's changing the deadline to just 10 more days, or else Trump is going to impose crippling sanctions on Russia. And a lot of people are saying, well, how many more sanctions can we do on Russia, for crying out loud? Not many, but Trump's major partners in trade right now for fuel and other things, including food, wheat, and whatever else, the life's blood of Russia, is Iran and China. I'll wait till this guy goes by here. The guy going by. I don't like to talk about stuff with somebody going by. Right? So, the reason why I mentioned that, I smell wood burning. Now I smell smoke. Now, I don't know if that's local or if that is actually, we're finally smelling the forest fires in Canada, finally, which might be what that is. News has been talking about the air quality for 3 days now, and I haven't smelled a whiff. Well, I just smelled burning wood. Problem is I don't know if it's from Canada or somebody in the neighborhood with a campfire. Anyway, in other words, the air quality is really not bothering me. So, things are changing in Ukraine. Ukraine has a severe shortage on personnel. And this is what I talked about. If you were watching these walks way back, or what I've discussed with people and also on social media here and there, is that Ukraine is not going to be able to sustain a long war with Russia. Not without NATO fighting it for them and putting boots on the ground, meaning World War III. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. And which would be dangerous because Russia is allies with China and Iran, and they would more than likely, as well as North Korea, don't forget, North Korea is a nuclear power, and don't think that China would not have the balls to side with Russia in a military dispute against NATO. That would hurt China financially very badly. So maybe you wouldn't see that. But I'm just saying this is a very dangerous time. Very clearly today, Ukraine is admitting that they're losing. They finally admitted it, because they're losing badly. They have been for over a year now. But they're finally admitting it, which means, you know, Russia amassed 100,000 troops in Russia, and they started an invasion today, a secondary invasion bigger than the first one. And hate to tell you folks, but that's it for Ukraine. That's why Putin is not making a peace deal with Trump, because if he makes a peace deal with Trump, then he has to cede ground. And if he doesn't make a peace deal with Trump and just takes Ukraine, Putin might very well end up with all of Ukraine. So unless we get a deal and have something to offer Putin bigger than all of Ukraine, then we're not going to see a peace deal in this. Ukraine is falling. They're going to fall. And that's it. There's nothing anybody can do to stop it now, unfortunately. That's the sad truth I have for you today. So my friends, that is the sad truth I have for you today. Ukraine is just about fallen now. It's not going to take long. They don't have anything left to fight with. Russia has upticked their amounts of drones. I saw some video today of a city that Ukraine has to keep. They have erected kind of a low-budget screen material over their roads because the Russians are just flying drones in and hitting anything on the roads. You know, grandma going to get groceries, she gets droned to death. It's been very nasty, very brutal. And so they have these chain meshes, like you get this street here. They got these poles up on the side, and they have these wire mesh screen rooftops going over the roads to prevent the drones from going through the screens and hitting cars. And they're getting through anyway because people need to make holes in the fences to get to their house. So drones can hover in one place and then just fly through a hole. And they're launching drones into people's houses. Russia right now is killing everybody and anything. There's no rules of engagement, nothing. So basically what Putin's doing right now is war crimes. And this is not good. Because even if he gets Ukraine, I don't think the rest of the world is going to want to trade with them and do any commerce. So this is a big problem. And it's a bigger problem for North Korea and China because they're going to have to decide if they're going to end up getting in a war with the West. This is really serious stuff. Trump tried his best to get peace. Putin just was delaying and delaying, delaying. He's delaying because he knows Ukraine's going to fall soon. And that's starting to be what it looks like. And all we can do is supply Ukraine with weapons. Europe is not very anxious to get into a ground war, and neither are we. And I hate to say it, if you're in Ukraine and you're watching this, it's a matter of time. Your country is going to be gone. So, you got a lot of people I've noticed today on video clips I watched. People that live in Ukraine are hiding their faces from the cameras. And then why are they doing that? Because they know Russia is going to be there soon. They know they're losing. So the military in Ukraine has turned pessimistic. The citizens feel like the war is already lost. Because it is. You know, when Ukraine was resorting to conscription 6 months to a year ago, knocking on people's doors and grabbing them out of their homes, throwing them in a van and forcing them to join the military, and if they didn't want to, they would get beaten. When they started doing that, you know, when that Ukraine war first started, you had a whole bunch of mercs, former American military, wanted to go fight Russia. Well, these guys are all dead now. They're all dead. Gone. Warfare today is not the warfare that they were involved in. They weren't trained for this. And drone warfare is... I saw a clip today. This Russian soldier, unarmed, was out of ammo. So, unarmed, still had his rifle. And, you know, 3 or 4 drones were coming at him. and they have explosives on them. They're trying to detonate and kill the guy. So this guy threw his rifle at one and detonated a drone, injured his leg. So he's lying there in a ditch, another drone's coming. He forces himself to get up. He takes his helmet he's wearing and throws it at the drone, and the drone explodes. He hit the drone. And so he got 3 of the drones out of 4, and the 4th one got him. So a lot of Ukraine is out in open fields, rubbled cities. There's no place to hide from these drones. If they see you, you're dead. You know? You can't go hide behind something. You can't hide in a ditch. You can't, you know, because they're above. They're watching you. And they're tethered with these fiber optic cables, and you can't get any interference to interfere with the signal to knock them down that way. So these fiber optic cables can be 10 kilometers long. So somebody is sitting 10 miles away in a tent with a remote control, wearing AI goggles, and flying the drone to the target. So they're laying there in the bed with a TV monitor and a remote control, killing people while laying in bed. It's crazy. You know, $500 drone taking out $5 million pieces of equipment in a second. They have tried to retrofit, the Russians have tried to retrofit their tanks with this kind of like corrugated, rippled steel armor. Hasn't been effective. These drones fly around the back of it, and after they fly around the back of it, the drone hits the fuel tanks on the back of the tanks. So in standard regular warfare, you always have the front of your tank going into battle, so you want to protect your flank and your rear. You want to protect the tracks, and you want to protect the gas tanks in the back. And traditionally, the gas tanks are the least protected, and they put all the armor up front because you do have to make a compromise with the weight that they are already. And these drones are taking out these tanks. And they're being real clever about it. They'll fly a drone, which is the faster jet-propelled ones, and hit the back of the tank, blow the tank up, the gas tank. And then, when the soldiers inside try to get out, they open the hatch. They get another drone above them to drop a bomb right inside the hatch hole. I mean, they're so good at it now. They've had a lot of practice. They're dropping grenades right through the open holes and killing people inside the tank. So this has been a true nightmare on the battlefield for the soldiers. There's no defense against it. I watched one clip with 2 North Koreans getting chased by drones. They're frantically trying to shoot the drones out of the air with a rifle. It's not going to happen. And they're turning, shooting at the drone while the drone's flying circles. And the freaking guy shot his buddy. You know? It's like this whole bunch of confusion. They don't know how to combat it. And I know the US military has started using a shotgun type weapon, which has rounds specifically made to destroy drones. That's something you're going to start seeing soon. So you're probably going to see semi-automatic shotguns that shoot these rounds, specifically designed to take out a short radius drones on the battlefield. So might be tied into the soldiers' AI goggles that they have. So they will have some kind of sensor to target the drones. And it'll be like shooting drones being highlighted in the sky like a video game, but you're on the ground with a shotgun. Of course, that doesn't do anything about the other stuff. I mean, it's like a nightmare scenario. I saw this video of a tank column, armored column, driving through a field, and they didn't know that the field was mined. So the tank at the head of the column, because the job of the tank in front is to pick a pathway through the minefield. I don't know what it has with equipment to do that, but it made a mistake and hit a mine. Now these columns were all driving in a straight line or a curved line or whatever line they were doing. Now the lead tank that was taken out now is causing a traffic jam. So these other tanks have to try to back up and turn around or whatever they're going to do, because they don't know what's going on. And sure enough, the tank that backed up or went off the trail they were on, bang, hits a mine, blows up. The armaments inside the tank start going off. Body parts are flying all over the place, dead soldiers, heads, chests, everything. And then the Ukraine army starts picking off the rest of the tanks that had stopped with Javelin missiles that we gave them. I watched a video of probably 200 Russian soldiers killed within, I don't even think it was 5 minutes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable carnage. They were defenseless. Nothing they could do. They had nowhere to run. There were mines everywhere. Insanity. It's just crazy. But that's what they're doing right now. And anyway, Russia is going to be taking Ukraine pretty soon. I don't know how soon is in Ukraine war time is. Might be a month, 6 weeks. But it'll be soon. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm hoping NATO doesn't decide to put boots on the ground. There's, Macron in France is an idiot, That's the kind of stuff he wants to do. The reality is, Russia is too big for Ukraine to deal with alone. Everybody knew that at the beginning. And so here we are in a big friggin' mess. Because stupid people are running things. So anyway, back to Trump's 10-day ultimatum on Russia. It was 50 days, he shortened it now, he's truncated it to 10 more days because he said absolutely nothing's going on, and there's no point in waiting the full 50. Putin's not coming to the table. So a lot of people anticipate what Trump's plan is within 10 days is they're going to put heavy tariffs, big tariffs on Russia, but more importantly, any country that does business with Russia is going to get tariffed. So if China wants to keep supplying Russia with goods, ammunition, things like that, then China could get a 50% tariff on anything sold to the United States for their helping Russia. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll have to wait and see. Because like I said, we've already tariffed Russia. Not tariffed, but we don't have tariffs with Russia because we don't do any trade with them. But we already have sanctions on them. So the next sanction is going to be tariffs on any country that does business with Russia, which they need NATO to do that as well. So, and that's probably what we're going to see. But it's going to be too late. Russia's going to have Ukraine, which is what they want, at all costs, apparently. So, don't really see any other solution. Ukraine's gone. Russia's going to win that war. And I said as early as 2021, when it looked like we were going to get involved in this, Ukraine was going to lose. And, you know, look what Russia's inheriting. Everything in Ukraine's Russia destroyed, ruined. All that old architecture. And I'll tell you right now, Ukraine are not the good guys. Russia's not the good guys. And really, it's not our problem. Russia's not going to invade Europe. They tried to use that for the fear-mongering, but, you know, Russia is not powerful enough to do that. They have the resources to do that in their country, but it's still in the ground. They haven't made military armaments out of them yet. Okay, and their military is quite a few years behind ours. China would be more of an adversary we should worry about in that scenario, because if China allies with Russia and says something like an attack on Russia is an attack on us and we will go to war with you, China is a formidable force to be worried about. And they have a lot of men and weapons, and they have fully armed themselves. So this isn't good. But anyway, with that, say a prayer for Trump and the country. God bless America. God bless the world. And pray where it's needed. There's always a motorcycle when I'm trying to talk. It's uncanny. Anyways, my friends, we'll see you on the next walk. And say a prayer for Trump and the country especially. And make America great again. Fight, fight, fight. And also MAHA. This was a MAHA walk. Make America healthy again. See you guys soon, my friends. God bless you. Bye-bye.